an important contribution to the objective process of forming a common Eurasian architecture based on the principles of indivisibility of security and equal collective responsibility, mutual respect, and a balance of interests. I resume my function as the President of the Council, and I now give the floor to Special Envoy in the Middle East and North Africa of Switzerland, His Excellency, Mr. Wolfgang Amadeus Brühlhardt.
Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I would like to thank Mr. Rattray for his presentation. Excellencies, Switzerland is alarmed by the situation throughout the occupied Palestinian territory and on both sides of the blue line between Israel and Lebanon. We must work tirelessly to restore peace and security in the Middle East. Switzerland has strongly condemned the acts of terror and hostage-taking perpetrated by Hamas on the 7th of October. These acts were followed by a deadly war in Gaza and unprecedented levels of violence in the West Bank. During a recent trip to the region, I saw once again the extent of the suffering inflicted on civilians on both sides. They continue to pay the heaviest price for violations of international law committed by all sides. This includes thousands of children killed or maimed. Furthermore, the lack of implementation of the 4 resolutions adopted by this Council since the 7th of October is unacceptable. We must step up our efforts to break the spiral of violence and return to the principles of humanity that have been flouted for too long in this conflict. Switzerland calls for an immediate ceasefire and the immediate and unconditional release of the hostages. We encourage the parties to conclude and implement an agreement to this effect as quickly as possible. We thank the mediators for their tireless efforts. All persons deprived of their liberty must be treated humanely and receive visits from the ICRC. Humanitarian access must be provided through all possible crossing points in a safe, rapid and unhindered manner throughout the Gaza Strip. The situation is urgent. 96% of civilians are at risk of starvation according to the IPC. This is unacceptable. The civilian population, persons who are hors de combat, and civilian property such as residential buildings, schools and buildings must not be attacked. We condemn all attacks of this kind in the strongest possible terms, whether they take place in Gaza or elsewhere in the world. Respect for the principles of distinction, proportionality and precaution in the conduct of hostilities are obligations under international humanitarian law. And this applies even in the context of the fight against terrorism. In Resolution 2730, this Council reaffirmed the protection of personnel and property employed in humanitarian operations. Excellencies, a ceasefire in Gaza will make a major contribution to regional de-escalation. But it is not enough. To return to the path of peace, respect for international law in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, is essential. To this end, Israel must refrain from taking measures that would introduce permanent changes, particularly demographic and administrative changes in the occupied territory. However, we note with concern the transfer of governance of civil affairs to the West Bank. In addition, recent announcements of the construction of housing units in the settlements. These contribute to the coercive environment. This leads to the forced displacement of Palestinian communities and the weakening of the Palestinian Authority. Settlements are illegal under international law. They are a major obstacle to peace and to the implementation of the solution of 2 democratic states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace, within secure and recognized borders. Only a political solution will bring lasting peace to the Middle East. The way forward begins with respect for international law and dialogue between parties to the conflict, the states of the region, the members of this Council and other key players. My recent discussions in the region and beyond have confirmed to me that such a path requires the support of us all. And I repeat, of us all. Alongside you, Switzerland is ready to play its part in this difficult but necessary process, and to support any effort to reopen the way to peace. Thank you very much.